Park stepped off the transport shuttle and took her first breath of recycled station air. It smelled like metal and cleaning chemicals. Nothing like the mountain forests back home, where she had spent 5 years teaching people how to survive in the wilderness. But Earth was far away now, and she had signed up for something bigger. Station Helix 7 floated in the empty space between 3 star systems. The Galactic Survival Academy had trained soldiers, explorers, and emergency responders for over 200 years. Species from across the known galaxy sent their best candidates here. Was the first human to ever apply. She followed the glowing floor lights toward the registration area. Around her, aliens of every shape and size moved through the corridors. Some walked on 2 legs like her. Others floated, crawled, or rolled. A tall creature covered in blue feathers nodded at her as it passed, nodded back, trying to look confident. The registration officer was a small being with gray skin and 4 eyes. It looked at her documents for a long time. "Human," it said finally. "First one we have had, interesting." "I hope to learn a lot," replied. The officer made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You will. Orientation begins in 1 hour. Lecture Hall 7. Do not be late." Found her assigned quarters and dropped off her bag. The room was small but clean. A bed, a desk, a window showing the stars outside. She looked at her reflection in the dark glass. 28 years old, strong from years of hiking and climbing, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at her. Or so she thought. Lecture Hall 7 was already filling up when she arrived. Counted 32 different species among her fellow cadets. She recognized some from her preparation studies. The fluffy white who lived on ice worlds, the rock-like who could survive in vacuum, the tall, scaled who were famous for their survival skills. She took a seat near the middle of the room. A shuffled over and sat beside her. Its fur was pure white, and its large black eyes studied her with curiosity. "I am called," it said. "You are the human, yes. I have read about your species. You come from a death world." Smiled. She had heard Earth described that way before. To species who evolved on gentle, stable planets, Earth was terrifying. Earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, extreme temperatures, and predators everywhere. Humans had survived it all. "I am," she said. "Nice to meet you." Before they could talk more, the lights dimmed. A massive figure walked onto the stage at the front of the hall. Instructor was standing nearly 3 meters tall. His scales shimmered between blue and green as he moved. His eyes were sharp and cold. "Welcome to the Galactic Survival Academy," he announced. His voice was deep and filled the room without any need for amplification. "Many of you will not complete this program. Survival is not about strength or speed. It is about knowledge. What you do not know will kill you." He pressed a button, and a holographic display appeared behind him. It showed a rotating image of a strange plant with red leaves. "Your first lesson concerns universal toxins," continued. "These are substances that appear on multiple worlds across the galaxy. They are dangerous to virtually all known species. Learning to identify them is essential." The display changed to show a list of chemical compounds. Names that did not recognize scrolled past. Molecular structures rotated in the air. "We will begin with capsaicin," said. The display showed a small red fruit. "This compound is produced by certain plants as a defense mechanism. It attacks the nervous system, causing intense pain, tissue damage, and in sufficient doses, death. It has been found on 23 worlds, including the human." Leaned forward. The fruit on the screen looked very familiar. "Any creature that consumes capsaicin will experience immediate burning sensations," explained. "Swelling of tissues, difficulty breathing. The compound is so effective that some military organizations have attempted to weaponize it." Raised her eyebrows. She was pretty sure she had eaten that exact fruit for breakfast. Her mother called them peppers. They went well with soup. The display changed again. Now it showed a white bulb made of many small sections. Next, we examine Allison said. This compound is produced when certain plants are cut or crushed. It is a cellular poison that destroys membranes on contact, causes severe internal bleeding if consumed, found on 17 worlds, extremely dangerous. Stared at the screen. That was garlic. Her grandmother used garlic in everything. Could not remember a single meal from her childhood that did not include garlic. Consuming even small amounts of allicin is fatal to most known species, continued. There is no treatment. Avoidance is the only protection. Notice that expression had changed. The human's face was doing something strange. Her lips were pressed tightly together and her shoulders were shaking slightly. Human, are you unwell? Whispered. Your face is doing strange movements. Covered her mouth with her hand. She was trying very hard not to laugh. On the screen was now showing an image of a brown powder that recognized as cinnamon. He was describing it as a respiratory toxin capable of destroying lung tissue. Her mother put cinnamon in rice cakes. I am fine, whispered back to, just surprised. She looked around the lecture hall. Every other cadet was watching the presentation with serious expressions. Some were taking notes. A few looked frightened. Nobody else seemed to find anything unusual about the information being presented. Realized something important in that moment. Either the entire galaxy was wrong about these plants, or humans were very, very different from everyone else. She thought about her packed lunch in her quarters. Kimchi made with garlic and red pepper, rice seasoned with sesame oil, a small container of gochujang sauce that her brother had sent from home. By galactic standards, she had brought enough poison to kill everyone on the station. Sank lower in her seat and wondered how she was going to explain this. The lecture continued for another hour. With each new slide, felt more and more uncomfortable. Instructor moved through his list of deadly substances with the confidence of someone who had taught this material for decades. He had no doubt that every word he spoke was correct. Black pepper was a nerve agent. Ginger caused organ failure. Mustard seed was so dangerous that handling it required protective equipment. Onions released toxic gases when cut. The list went on and on. Sat very still in her seat. She thought about her family's kitchen back in Korea. Her mother would be preparing dinner right now, chopping onions and garlic on the cutting board, adding pepper and ginger to the pot. According to Instructor, she was basically running a chemical weapons laboratory. Kept glancing at her nervously. They could tell that something was wrong with the human, but did not know what. You are very quiet, whispered. Usually new cadets ask many questions. I have questions, whispered back. I am just not sure how to ask them. On the stage, activated a new image. It showed a bright purple root vegetable. This specimen contains a compound called allicin in concentrated form, the instructor explained. Even skin contact can cause chemical burns. Ingestion is immediately fatal. There is no species in the galactic database that can safely consume this substance. Knew that vegetable. It was a type of wild garlic that grew in the mountains near her. Her grandmother used to dig them up every spring. She would pickle them in soy sauce and serve them with rice. His hand went up before she could stop herself. The lecture hall fell silent, stopped mid-sentence. His scales shifted from blue to a darker shade of green. In his 40 years of teaching, no cadet had ever interrupted him during the toxin lecture. Cadet, he said slowly, you have a question. I think there might be a mistake, said. Her voice came out smaller than she intended. In the database, I mean. A murmur went through the room. Other cadets turned to look at her. The students in the back row made crackling sounds of disbelief. Nobody questioned the universal toxin registry. It had been compiled over centuries by the finest scientists in the galaxy. Secondary eyes blinked rapidly. Explain yourself, cadet. Stood up slowly. She could feel everyone watching her. That plant you just showed, On my world, we call it wild garlic. My grandmother eats it every spring. She is 87 years old." The silence that followed was absolute. Could hear the soft hum of the station's life support systems. "You are suggesting," said carefully, "that your species consumes allicin voluntarily." "Yes, Instructor. We also eat regular garlic every day. It is in most of our food." And the front row made a high-pitched sound of distress. Beside her had gone very still, his white fur standing straight up. Took a step forward. His scales had shifted to pale gray now, a color had not seen before. "Cadet Park, I need you to be very clear. Are you telling me that humans eat the substances I have been describing?" Thought about the best way to answer. "Not all of them," she said, "but most of them, yes. The pepper, the garlic, the ginger, the cinnamon. We use them to make our food taste better. We call them spices." "Spices," repeated. The word seemed to cause him physical pain. "We also have competitions," added. She was not sure why she kept talking, but she could not seem to stop. "To see who can eat the hottest peppers, the ones with the most capsaicin. People do it for fun." In the back row made a sound like breaking glass and collapsed. 2 other cadets rushed to help, but the crystalline being had simply fainted. Its body chimed softly against the floor. Walked slowly toward the edge of the stage. He seemed to be having trouble processing what he was hearing. "Cadet Park, how much capsaicin have you consumed in your lifetime?" Did the math in her head. Peppers with every meal since childhood. Kimchi for breakfast most days. Hot sauce on everything. "I do not know the exact amount," she admitted. "A lot, maybe several kilograms total." The instructor made a sound that his translator could not process. It came out as a burst of static. "Several kilograms," he repeated quietly, "of a substance that is lethal to every other known species in doses measured in milligrams. We build up tolerance over time," offered. "My brother can eat peppers that would make me cry. He practices." Raised a trembling paw. "Instructor, is it possible the human is joking? My research indicated that humans sometimes say things they do not mean for amusement." "I am not joking," said. She pulled out her communication device and showed them a picture. "This is my family's dinner table from last week. My mother sent it to me before I left Earth." The image showed a normal Korean meal, bowls of rice, kimchi in a dish, grilled meat with garlic, soup with visible peppers floating in it, bottles of sauce on the side. Looked at the image for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its commanding tone. He sounded almost afraid. "Cadet Park, everything on that table is poisonous." "It is just dinner," said. The instructor turned off the holographic display. He stood silently for a moment, staring at nothing. Then he looked at his class of terrified cadets. "Lecture is canceled for today," he announced. "I need to contact the Medical Research Division. Cadet Park, please come with me. Everyone else is dismissed." As followed out of the hall, she heard whisper to another behind her. "The humans are from a death world. I thought that meant dangerous animals. I did not know they were the dangerous ones." Pretended not to hear. She was starting to realize that her time at the academy was going to be very different from what she had expected. News traveled fast on Station Helix 7. By the next morning, everyone had heard about the human who ate poison for pleasure. Noticed the change immediately. When she walked through the corridors, other species moved out of her way. They pressed themselves against the walls, giving her plenty of space. Some watched her with fear. Others watched with a strange kind of respect. A few just stared with their mouths open. A group of young ran away when they saw her coming. She heard one of them say, "That is her, the one who drinks cellular acid for breakfast." Sighed, she had not drunk any acid. It was just tea with lemon. Her communication device buzzed. A message from Academy administration ordered her to report to the medical research wing immediately. not the training grounds where other cadets would be practicing survival skills. The research laboratories. She found the medical research wing on the station's upper level. The doors opened to reveal a large white room filled with equipment she did not recognize. Instructor was already there, standing in the corner. He looked like he had not slept. The room's other occupants were more surprising. 17 scientists from various species surrounded a central table. They wore protective suits and carried scanning devices. They looked at the way she might look at a new species of dangerous animal. In the center of them all sat Chief, had read about during her preparation for the academy, though was one of the most respected scientists in the galaxy. Its body was like a large ball of clear jelly, and it communicated by vibrating different parts of itself. Cadet Park vibrated. The translator in his ear turned the vibrations into words. "Thank you for coming. We have many questions." "I will answer what I can," said. Wobbled slightly, which apparently meant excitement. "After your claims yesterday, we conducted an emergency review of human biology. We also searched your species' databases for information about food preparation." One of the scientists pressed a button. A holographic display appeared, showing image after image of human food: Korean barbecue, Indian curry, Mexican salsa, Thai stir-fry, Italian pasta with garlic bread. "These are all considered normal meals on your planet," said. "Yes." "Yes," confirmed, "very normal. Every single one contains substances that are toxic to all other known intelligent species." Vibrated harder, causing ripples to spread through its body. "Not just mildly toxic, deadly. Your species has spent thousands of years learning to cultivate these plants. You made them stronger. You bred them to contain more poison." Thought about her father. He was a pepper farmer who spent his whole life developing hotter varieties. He would be proud to know that his work was considered dangerous by galactic standards. "We like strong flavors," she said simply. A tall, insect-like scientist stepped forward. "We must conduct tests. We need to understand how your body processes these substances. Would you be willing to consume samples while we monitor your biological responses?" Looked at the table in front of her. Someone had prepared a small dish containing raw garlic cloves, slices of fresh ginger, and a single dried red pepper. Medical scanning equipment surrounded the plate. A team of scientists stood ready with emergency treatment devices. It looked like a light snack. "You want me to eat this?" she asked. "If you are willing," said. "We estimate that the compounds on this plate would be enough to kill a crew of 12, or a single, or approximately 40. Instructor made a pained sound from his corner. Picked up a garlic clove and examined it. It was fresh and firm, good quality. She put it in her mouth and chewed. 3 scientists gasped. One of them dropped a scanning device, covered his eyes with his hands. "Interesting," vibrated. "Your readings show mild digestive activity, no cellular damage, your heart rate is unchanged. You are not dying." "It is just garlic," said, swallowing. "A little strong when raw, but fine." She picked up the ginger and ate it too. Then the dried pepper. The pepper was fairly hot, maybe a 5 out of 10 on her personal scale. Her eyes watered slightly, but otherwise she felt nothing unusual. The scientists were in chaos. They checked and rechecked their instruments. They compared readings. They argued about methodology. "This should not be possible," one of them kept saying. "The math does not work. She should be dead 3 times over." Moved closer to its gelatinous body, leaving a slight trail on the floor. "Cadet Park, I must know, what is the strongest toxin that humans regularly consume?" Thought about this carefully. "There are many, but if you want something strong, I could tell you about fermented foods." "Fermented?" "We take food and let it sit until bacteria change it. Kimchi, cheese, soy sauce. Some of it smells very strong. Some of it is an acquired taste." The scientists looked at each other nervously. We also drink alcohol, added. Many humans drink it every day, for relaxation. Ethanol, a small furry scientist nearly fell over. You consume ethanol. That is an industrial solvent. We use it to clean engine parts. Yes, said. We also set it on fire sometimes for cooking. Finally spoke from his corner. His voice was barely a whisper. What have we invited onto this station? Ignored him. The scientist seemed thrilled rather than frightened. Cadet Park, I believe your species represents a significant discovery. Your biological resistance to toxins is unprecedented. This has implications we have not begun to explore. What kind of implications? Asked. Military, medical, colonial, wobbled with excitement. There are worlds that other species cannot inhabit because of toxic plant life. Humans could walk there safely. There are weapons that your species would simply ignore. There are diseases that your bodies could fight off without medicine. Had never thought of herself as special. She was just a woman from a small town who liked hiking and camping. But looking at the amazed faces around her, she began to understand. Humans were not just from a death world. Humans were the death world. One of the scientists approached her nervously, holding a data pad. Cadet Park, our records show that you brought personal food supplies from Earth. We would like to analyze them, for science. Thought about her container of gochujang paste, the jar of pickled peppers, the bag of dried anchovies. You can look, she said, but you might want to wear protective equipment. I packed some spicy stuff. Two scientists immediately left the room to get better suits. 1 month passed after the demonstration in the medical research wing. During that time, continued her training at the academy. She learned wilderness survival on 7 different planet types. She practiced emergency medical procedures. She studied hostile environment navigation. But she was also studied in return. Scientists from across the galaxy requested permission to observe her. They watched her eat meals. They scanned her body after she consumed spices. They took samples of her blood, her saliva, and her tears when she ate something particularly hot. Every piece of data was sent to research institutions throughout known space. The other cadets slowly became less afraid of her. They had become her closest friend at the academy. The fluffy white alien was endlessly curious about human food, though he would not get within 10 meters of anything she was eating. Your species is strange, said one afternoon. They were sitting in the cafeteria, eating lunch while observed from a safe distance. You evolved on a planet that tried to kill you with everything, weather, animals, plants, diseases, and you survived all of it. We are stubborn, said between bites of spicy noodles. You are terrifying, corrected, but in a good way, I think. The cafeteria doors opened, and 3 figures walked in. They were not scientists or instructors. They wore the formal black uniforms of the Galactic Military Command. Other cadets quickly moved out of their way. The leader of the group was a species known for their strategic minds and military history. He had 4 arms, gray skin, and eyes that seemed to calculate everything they saw. His chest was covered with medals and ribbons. He walked directly to his table. Cadet Park, he said. His voice was deep and serious. I am Commander, may I sit? Nodded, surprised. A military commander traveling all this way to talk to a first-year cadet was unusual. She put down her chopsticks. Commander sat across from her. His officers stood behind him, their eyes scanning the room. Had moved even further away, his fur standing up with nervousness. I have read the reports about you, said. I have watched the recordings from your medical tests. I have studied your species' dietary habits in great detail. And asked. And I am here because the galactic military has spent 300 years developing biological weapons. Leaned forward. Do you know what the primary component of our most effective toxic agents is? Shook her head. Capsaicin derivative, said. We synthesized concentrated forms of the compound that grows in your peppers. It took decades of research, billions of credits, entire divisions of scientists working in secret laboratories. He paused, his four hands folding together on the table. We thought we had created the ultimate weapon, something that could incapacitate any enemy without causing permanent harm, something that could end wars without bloodshed. His eyes met. And then we learned that humans sprinkle it on food for fun. Did not know what to say. She looked at her bowl of noodles. The broth was red with chili oil. By galactic military standards, she was eating a bowl of weapon. Our research also identified another compound for development, continued, found in a substance humans call nutmeg. We have been working on a version that could be deployed as an airborne agent. Very expensive, very secret. I put nutmeg in my coffee sometimes, said quietly. Yes, made a sound that might have been a laugh. I know, we have completely reconsidered our weapons development strategy since learning about humans. One of the officers behind stepped forward. She was a smaller species that did not recognize. Commander, should we proceed with the proposition? Yes, straightened in his seat. Cadet Park, I am not here just to satisfy my curiosity. I am here to offer you an opportunity. The military command wants to understand humans better, not just your biology but your capabilities, your potential. What kind of potential? Humans are immune to our most advanced chemical weapons. You can survive environments that would kill most species. You heal faster than any other known intelligent life form. You can continue functioning even when injured or sick. Counted each point on a different hand. Individually, any of these traits would make you valuable. Together, they make you extraordinary. Thought about her life before the academy, guiding tourists through mountain trails, teaching city people how to start fires and build shelters. It had seemed important at the time. But this was something different. What exactly are you offering? She asked. Right now, just partnership, cultural exchange. We want to bring more humans to work with galactic species, share knowledge, learn from each other. Paused. Your brother, for example, we understand he operates a food establishment on Earth. Blinked, he runs a fried chicken restaurant in. We have analyzed the sauce recipe that his establishment uses. Translator seemed to struggle with the next part. According to our laboratories, it qualifies as a Class 7 biological hazard, the same category as engineered plague agents. Could not help it, she laughed. Her brother's famous spicy sauce, the one that customers begged for, was apparently a weapon of mass destruction. Would he be willing to work with us? Asked. Your species' knowledge of these substances is unmatched. You have spent thousands of years learning to prepare them, to balance them, to make them enjoyable. We want to understand how. You want my brother to come to space and teach aliens how to handle hot sauce. Among other things, yes. Looked at her noodles again. She thought about her family back home, her grandmother with her garlic and peppers, her father with his carefully cultivated plants, her mother with her endless patience in the kitchen, her brother with his restaurant and his secret recipes. They had no idea that their normal, everyday cooking skills were considered remarkable by the rest of the galaxy. I will ask him, said finally, but I cannot promise anything. He is very busy with his restaurant. Commander stood. He gave a formal four-armed salute. That is all I ask, Cadet Park. Thank you for your time. He turned to leave, then paused. One more question, if I may. Yes. The fermented fish sauce you mentioned in your medical evaluation. Is it truly as potent as the scientists described? Smiled. You mean fish sauce? Yes. It smells very strong. Some foreigners cannot even be in the same room with it. His face did something complicated. His translator produced a string of words that seemed to be a prayer in his native language. Then he left the cafeteria without another word. Slowly crept back toward the table. Did the military commander just come here to talk about your family's cooking? Yes, said. She picked up her chopsticks and continued eating. I think things are going to get very interesting soon. 3 years had passed since first set foot on Station Helix 7. The galaxy had changed in ways nobody had predicted. The Human Culinary Exchange Corps was established in the second year after graduation. It was not a military organization, though it worked closely with the Galactic Command. It was not a scientific institution, though researchers studied everything it did. It was something new, something that had never existed before. 12 human chefs traveled across known space. They visited planets that had never seen humans before. They set up kitchens in war zones and refugee camps. They cooked food that made aliens weep, scream, and sometimes pass out. But they also made food that brought people together. Park was one of those 12 chefs. His brother had closed his restaurant in and joined the program. He missed his old life sometimes, but he could not deny that his new job was more exciting. Today, he was standing in a kitchen on the border of the sector. A war had been raging here for 15 years. The hegemony had pushed into the region, taking planet after planet. Millions had been displaced. Peace talks had failed 17 times. The 18th attempt was happening today, and someone had asked the Human Culinary Exchange Corps to cater. Looked at his team. 2 other human chefs, both from different countries on Earth. A woman from his who specialized in soups, and a young man who made the best fried foods had ever tasted. The delegates will arrive in 1 hour, said. Are we ready? Kimchi is fermenting, reported. Soup is simmering, rice is perfect. Fried items are prepared, added. Sauces are mixed, everything is ready. Nodded. He checked his special container of gochujang paste. He had spent years perfecting this recipe. It was his grandmother's original formula, with a few adjustments. The Galactic Medical Authority had classified it as a Class 7 biohazard. He considered that a compliment. The peace talks began badly. The hegemony representatives were a warrior species with thick armor plating and aggressive attitudes. Their admiral, a veteran named, had personally led the conquest of 3 systems. He had no interest in peace. The defending alliance was represented by species from 12 different worlds. They were tired and desperate. They had been losing for years. Both sides sat at opposite ends of a long table. They exchanged insults. They made threats. They accused each other of crimes. The neutral mediators looked exhausted before the first hour was over. Then's team brought out the food. The delegates fell silent. They stared at the dishes being placed before them. Bowls of steaming soup, plates of crispy fried chicken, small dishes of colorful side dishes, and in the center of each place setting, a small portion of bibimbap topped with a generous amount of gochujang sauce. Admiral looked at the human standing beside him. What is this? Lunch, said simply. You have been arguing for 3 hours. You should eat. Is this some kind of trick? No trick, just food, smiled. Though I should warn you, it is a little spicy. Made a dismissive sound. They were proud of their physical toughness. They would not admit weakness in front of their enemies. He picked up a utensil and took a large bite of the bibimbap. His reaction was immediate. His armored plates flushed bright red. His eyes went wide. Steam seemed to rise from his skin. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. His officers started to rise, hands reaching for weapons but waved them down. He was a warrior. He had survived worse than this. He forced himself to chew, to swallow, to take another bite. By the 5th bite, something strange happened. The burning faded. The flavors underneath began to emerge, rich and savory, complex and satisfying, unlike anything he had ever tasted. What is this substance? He demanded. His voice was rough. His eyes were watering. Gochujang, said. Fermented red pepper paste, my grandmother's recipe. It attacked me, said, and then it became pleasant. That is how it works. You have to survive the fire to enjoy the feast. Stared at his bowl. Then he looked across the table at the Alliance representatives. They were watching him nervously, not touching their own food. The Admiral picked up his bowl and held it up. This human has served me a weapon disguised as a meal, and it is delicious. He took another bite, larger this time. His plates flushed red again, but he did not flinch. If you cowards will not eat, I will finish yours as well. That was enough. The Alliance representatives began eating. Some of them handled the spice better than others. A diplomat had to leave the room for 10 minutes. Cracked slightly from thermal shock, but they all kept eating. Something changed during that meal. The insults stopped. People started asking each other to pass dishes. Admiral shared his soup with an Alliance general who had never tried anything fermented before. The general shared her fried items with a hegemony officer who had never eaten crunchy food. By the time's team brought out dessert, the two sides were sitting together instead of apart. They were laughing about the faces they had made while eating. They were comparing which dishes had been hardest to handle. The peace treaty was signed 3 days later. It was not perfect. There would be more work to do, but for the first time in 15 years, the war was over. Back on Station Helix 7, received the news in her office. She was the director of human integration now, responsible for coordinating all human activities in the galactic community. It was a big job for someone who had once just wanted to teach wilderness survival. A message arrived from her brother. She opened it to find a picture of Admiral standing in his kitchen, wearing an apron. The fierce warrior was learning to chop vegetables. The caption read, "He wants to learn the grandmother recipe. I told him he has to start with the basics. He cried yesterday when he cut his first onion. I did not tell him about the tear gas effect beforehand. Was that wrong?" Laughed and wrote back, "Not wrong, that is called character building." She looked out her window at the stars. Somewhere out there, humans were changing the galaxy one meal at a time. They were not doing it with weapons or with technology. They were doing it with garlic and ginger and fermented cabbage. The station's cafeteria now had a human food section. It was the most popular spot on Helix 7, though medical staff were always on standby. Had finally tried a mild kimchi last month. He said it was the most dangerous thing he had ever done. Instructor had retired, but his replacement had created a new course called Human Biological Hazards and Cultural Practices. It was required for all cadets. The first lecture started with a simple warning that was now posted in every academy building. Do not accept food from humans without medical clearance, but if you are brave enough to try, it might change your life. Below the warning was a small addition, written in human handwriting. It is just seasoning, do not be afraid. Nobody knew who had added those words, but smiled every time she walked past the sign. The galaxy was big and strange and full of wonders, but sometimes the most amazing things came from the simplest places. A small kitchen, a family recipe, a spoonful of red pepper paste. Humans had survived their death world by being stubborn and adaptable and willing to eat almost anything. Now they were sharing those gifts with the rest of the universe. One spicy bite at a time.